Hello everyone out there on YouTube, this is Spoke777 here on YouTube, and there'll be 8 points that you will notice regarding Ellen G. White's 1851 time sitting as stated and believed by Bengali One and other people on the internet. I thought it was very much interesting to note from her own biography these 8 points. Now, let's read her biography. I thought it was interesting enough when Bengali talks about Ellen White setting a date for 1851 and predicting that Jesus would return then. But I remember reading The Early Years, Volume 1, a couple years ago on my way to Kings Island with my family. And this is what it says. The 1851 time setting. In 1850, Joseph Bates, entirely on his own initiative, published a pamphlet on the sanctuary in which he sparked a time-setting rash. A statement on pages 10 and 11 read, "The 7 spots of blood on the golden altar before the mercy seat I fully believe represent the duration of judicial proceedings of the living saints, and the most holy, all of which time they will be in their affliction, even 7 years. God by his voice will deliver them, for it is the blood that maketh an atonement for the soul. Then the number 7 will finish, the day of atonement, not redemption. 6 months last of this time, I understand Jesus will be gathering in the harvest with his sickle on the white cloud." An explanation of the typical and antitypical sanctuary by the scriptures with the chart. This view was accepted by a few, mostly in New Hampshire and Vermont, but it was not taken up or advocated by the workers generally. Nevertheless, such teaching was a threat that could lead to confusion and disappointment, but at the conference of Camden on Sabbath, June 21, Ellen White was given a vision on the point. The message of the vision was sent out in letters and then published a month later on the last page of a special number of the review dated July 21 and hurried into the field. "Dear brethren, the Lord has shown me that the message of the 3rd angel must go and be proclaimed to the scattering children of the Lord, and that it should not be hung on time, for time will never be a test again. I saw that some were getting a false excitement, arising from preaching time, that the 3rd angel's message was stronger than time can be. I saw that this message can stand on its own foundation, and that it needs not time to strengthen it, and that it will go in mighty power and do its work, and will be cut short in righteousness. I saw that some were making everything bend to the time of this next fall. That is, making their calculations in reference to that time. I saw that this was wrong. For this reason, instead of going to God daily to know their present duty, they look ahead and making their calculations as though they knew the work would end this fall, without inquiring their duty of God daily. And Hope, Ellen G. White, in their Review and Herald, August 19, 1851, James White, with the message of the vision of June 21 ringing in his ears, published a well-reasoned article entitled Our Present Work, in which he dealt firmly with the time-setting issue. It is well known that some of the brethren have been teaching that the great work of salvation for the remnant, through the intercession of our great high priest, will close in 7 years from the termination of the 2,300 days in the autumn of 1844. Some have thus taught we esteem very highly and love fervently as brethren, and we feel that it becomes us to be slow to say anything to hurt their feelings, yet we cannot refrain from giving some reasons why we did not receive the time. 6 numbered reasons were given in detail. We present serves. Number 1. The proof presented has not been sufficient. The whole matter seems to us to rest on inference. We confess that we have not been able to see it. Point 2. The message of the third angel does not hang on time. Time is not in the least connected with it. Point 3. We are not emphatically in the waiting time. Give us time again, and we cease to be in waiting position. 4. Our present position, relative to the truths connected with the third message, is based on positive testimony. It is stronger than time can be or ever has been. Connect time based on inference with the message, and our position is weakened. If it is the purpose of God that time should be embraced, we think the brethren generally would be called up to it. It has not been received. Only where those who teach it has traveled, and presented it as a subject of importance. 6. To embrace and proclaim a time that would pass by would have a withering influence upon the faith of those who would embrace and teach it. Then White wrote in general terms, "It has been, in our humble view, the past year that the proclamation of the time was no part of our present work. We do not see in the present message. We see no necessity for it, and we do not see the hand of the Lord in it, and we have felt it to be our duty to let the brethren know that we have no part in the present movement on time, and that we believe that our present work and present duty is to strive to be united in presenting those important truths embraced in the third angel's cry." The time dropped before the expiration. With the publication of the view given to Ellen White and James White's clear-cut testimony, Joseph Bates and others who had taken up the time message dropped it in the summer of 1851. It was considered of such minor importance that it was ignored in conferences held in the late summer. As noted by James White, second and last reference to the time, in his report on the Oswego, New York conference, he stated, "The subject of the 7 years' time was not mentioned. In fact, we know of no one in this state or in the West who teaches it. Some may suppose from our remarks in number 2, August 19, 1851, that the 7 years' time is held by quite a large portion of the brethren, but it is not so. The view has been mostly confined to the state of Vermont, and we learn by Brother Holt that most of the brethren there have given it up. Some, however, who did not have confidence in the resolutions, persisted in holding the view of the 1851 time. After it passed, they found themselves in confusion. Reporting a conference held in Washington, New Hampshire, October 31 to November 2, Ellen White stated, "The time has passed and left those who believed in it very low and dark, and the influence of those who believe the time has been very distracting. Such confusion and distraction has followed the time in fighting against the visions. They had also lost the power of the third angel's message, and some of them were in complete darkness."